Tonight, we're looking at a decision that could directly impact the price you pay for everyday goods. It starts with a single word: tariffs. To understand what's happening, we first need to get to the facts. What is a tariff? In the simplest terms, a tariff is a tax. It's not a tax you pay directly like sales tax, but a tax imposed by a government on goods imported from other countries. Think of it as an entry fee for products arriving from overseas. Now let's look at the decision at the center of this story. Today, on September 15, 2025, former President Donald Trump, currently in office, announced a significant shift in his long-standing trade policy. He has decided to temporarily pause a specific set of tariffs, primarily those affecting a wide range of consumer goods imported from China and several other trading partners. This is not a complete removal of all tariffs. Many remain in place. Instead, this is a targeted suspension, a freeze on certain import taxes that have been a cornerstone of his economic strategy for years. The pause is slated to last for an initial period of 90 days. The administration says it will reevaluate the economic landscape at that time. The tariffs being paused cover a broad spectrum of products: electronics, furniture, clothing, various household items. These products have been subject to import taxes ranging from 10% to 25%. These are the very tariffs at the heart of trade disputes, particularly with Beijing. The administration's stated reason is to provide relief to American consumers facing persistent inflation and rising costs of living. Officially, this is a strategic move to ease economic pressure on families and on businesses. The aim is to give the economy some breathing room without fully dismantling the America First trade framework. This decision marks a notable pivot. For years, the administration argued tariffs force other countries into fair trade. To really understand the impact of this policy shift, we need to dig deeper into a simple question. How does a tax on imported goods actually make things more expensive for you? It's a chain reaction. Let's start at the beginning. An American company, say a large electronics retailer, decides to import 10,000 new televisions from a factory in Asia. Before the tariffs, each television costs the company $300 to import. With a 25% tariff, the US government adds $75 to each unit. Now the retailer's cost per TV is $375. That extra $75 per TV is a big new expense. For 10,000 TVs, that's an extra $750,000. Company leadership faces a choice: absorb the cost or pass it on. Public companies usually avoid shrinking profit margins, so they often pass at least part of the cost down the supply chain. This is where the sticker price starts to change. The retailer will sell the TV at a higher price to protect profit margins. A TV that used to be $500 could be listed at $550 or $575. The retailer isn't trying to gouge you. They're protecting the business. This same principle applies to many products: new sneakers, a microwave oven, a child's toy components that go into an American-made car. But it doesn't stop there. Tariffs can raise prices for US-made goods too. Tariffs reduce foreign competition. So with the Trump administration hitting the pause button on some of these tariffs, the logical question is, will prices start to come down? The answer, as is often the case with economics, is complicated. In theory, yes. Pausing the tariff removes that extra cost from the supply chain. The company importing those televisions we talked about no longer has to pay that extra $75 tax on each unit. This gives them the ability to lower the price for retailers, who could then, in turn, lower the price for consumers. This is the intended effect, the relief the White House says it wants to deliver to the American people. However, there is no guarantee that these savings will be passed on to you. We are in a period of high inflation, where companies have been dealing with rising costs for everything from shipping. Let's make this even more concrete by looking at the items you buy every day. Take your grocery bill, for instance. While many tariffs have targeted things like steel and industrial components, others have hit consumer food products directly. Think about imported olive oil from Italy, certain cheeses from France, salmon from Asia, shrimp from Asia. A pause on these specific tariffs could mean a noticeable, albeit small, reduction in the cost of these items. If an importer is saving 15% on a container of olive oil, some of that saving might be passed on, shaving 50 cents or $1 off the price of a bottle. The electronics section of any big box store is another place where the effects could be seen. Many consumer electronics are assembled in China and other parts of Asia. Televisions, laptops, headphones, smart speakers. These products have been squarely in the crosshairs of the recent tariff wars. A pause on a 25% tariff on a $400 laptop is a $100 cost reduction for the importer. Even if only half of that saving is passed on to the consumer, that's a $50 price drop. This could make a real difference for a family buying a new computer for school. When we turn to the experts for their analysis of this tariff pause, we don't find a single, unified voice. Instead, we see a spectrum of opinions. Economists who generally favor free trade are cautiously optimistic. A collage of 4 economic experts. Dr. Emily Vance of the Peterson Institute says pausing the tariffs is a step in the right direction. She says it acknowledges the simple economic reality that import taxes are largely paid by the domestic population, not by the foreign exporter. On the other side are trade hawks and industries that benefited from protection. Alan Price, a lobbyist for a U.S. Steel coalition, voiced deep concern. He says this pause sends the wrong signal to our international competitors. This is a unilateral concession, he said. We are giving up our biggest point of leverage in trade negotiations. This pause will reopen the floodgates for unfairly subsidized foreign goods, threatening American jobs. Many analysts take a more neutral, middle ground approach. They say the pause might help on the margins. As we look forward, the biggest question is what happens in 90 days. The temporary nature of this tariff pause creates a cloud of uncertainty for businesses trying to make long-term plans. Will the tariffs snap back into place in mid-December, just as the holiday season reaches its peak? Will they be modified? Some eliminated permanently, others reinstated? Or could they even be increased if negotiations stall? This uncertainty makes it difficult for businesses to manage inventory, set prices, make investment decisions. An importer has to wonder if the container of goods they order today will face a 25% tax when it arrives in port 3 months from now. The next few months will be a crucial test. We will be watching to see if companies actually pass the savings from the tariff pause on to consumers. If prices for electronics do begin to fall, and if prices for furniture do begin to fall, it will be a victory for the administration's stated goal of providing relief. However, if prices remain stubbornly high, it will fuel the argument that corporations are simply using the pause to increase their own profits. Consumer advocacy groups will be monitoring prices closely, and the data they collect will play a significant role in the political debate over whether to extend the pause or let it expire. This decision also puts the ball in the court of our trading partners, especially China. Will Beijing offer its own concessions? Will they take steps to address the issues of intellectual property theft and market access that were the original justification for the tariffs? The response from China and other nations over the next 90 days will heavily influence President Trump's next move. If they are seen as making good faith efforts, an extension of the pause becomes more likely. If they are seen as doing nothing, a return to a hardline tariff policy is almost certain. Ultimately, this pause is a calculated risk. The potential benefit is a modest but welcome reduction in prices for American families, which could ease some of the pain of inflation. The potential drawback is that it could weaken the U.S. negotiating position and provide only a temporary, artificial dip in prices that is quickly reversed. For the average American, the best approach is to be aware but not to expect immediate, dramatic changes. The story of these tariffs is far from over. This is just the latest chapter, and we will continue to follow it, keep them honest, and report on how these high-stakes decisions are impacting your life and your finances.